are not just possible, but very likely tomorrow across our area. So I know we had a couple of rounds of heavy snow this year, and the word blizzard gets thrown around sometimes when you have heavy snow. The odd thing here is that the definition of blizzard is not dependent on having a lot of snow. The definition of blizzard is some snow at least. It can even be blowing snow. If the snow is in the ground already and the winds are picking up snow and blowing it around, you don't have to have any new snow falling, it'd be blowing snow. Visibility less than a quarter of a mile, and also winds sustained at 35 miles per hour or higher for at least 3 hours. Most of the time we get snow around here, the missing criteria on that is having 35 mile per hour winds, at least that, for sustained for 3 hours. I really think tomorrow will be easily in the classification of blizzard in many parts of northeast Kansas. Right now we have a winter storm watch for areas close to and north of I-70, and to the south of there it's a high wind warning. We'll probably see a winter weather advisory issued or a winter storm warning, and it's possible to see a blizzard warning issued. Whichever one you see, whichever thing you see, if it's a winter storm warning or a winter weather advisory or a blizzard warning, if it's any one of those three, just remember extremely strong winds and snow of a couple of inches. The problem is going to be it'll be very difficult to see driving during some of this, and we could see at least some snow accumulating on roadways. So the temperature in this won't be as wild as it has been recently. This is not an Arctic air mass by any means. Look at these temperatures. We dropped down on Wednesday morning down to 31 degrees by 1 a.m., 28 at 4 a.m., 25 at 7 a.m., then right back up. So no Arctic air. We're not talking about sub-zero temperatures this time. We won't be talking about wind. We won't be talking about frostbite risk. None of that. But the dangerous winds and some snow are very, very likely. Could see power outages with this. Late tonight, the power outage risks showing at least some severe storms in central Kansas that could knock out power in areas west of Wichita. Now tomorrow evening, this big area of yellow is not high end for power outages, but it's a big area that's in this. So isolated power outages possible from Kansas City all the way to Hastings, Nebraska. So that's not a small area. And by 10 p.m., it's really all of northeast Kansas. And then through Wednesday morning, it starts to taper off as the amazingly strong winds start to move away from us. Now, here's how Supercast sees these winds. Here's 2 p.m. tomorrow. I haven't talked about the snow yet, but here's 2 p.m. tomorrow. Not a problem yet. 5 p.m. tomorrow. Now we're gusting to almost severe storm limits around Clay Center. So we get 7, 8 o'clock, even 9. Now we have 7s on here. 70 mile per hour gusts, not just over a small area. If you just ignore the 70s, look at the whole area of this orange. Everything in that orange, which is all of northeast Kansas, all the way down to Wichita, that entire area is gusting at least 60 miles per hour. That's a big region to have severe storm magnitude wind gusts going on for a long time. So again, there'll be some spots in here gusting over 70. So there's 9 p.m. This doesn't stop anytime soon. There's 11 p.m. Still the same thing, a big area of 70s. So you get to 3 a.m., we still have this big area painted on of a lot of 60 miles per hour or worse. Now it starts to improve a little after sunrise on Wednesday, but it's still pretty breezy all day. Late tonight, Supercast actually picking up a couple of isolated storms. These could be severe. Hail the size of nickels or quarters is probably the most common risk with this. The risk of tornadoes with this is not zero, but it's close to zero. So we won't worry a lot about that. Tomorrow, we may see a rotating storm risk close to Pika, Lawrence, and Osage City early afternoon. I'll show that in a moment. So here's 8 a.m. tomorrow. Make sure the kids have got the umbrella at the bus stop. Nobody's canceling school tomorrow that I'm aware of, but rain in the morning. Here's 2 p.m. tomorrow, still rain, but Concordia, Clay Center, you're going to start changing over late afternoon, early evening. Here's this potential severe storm risk, maybe even a rotating storm or two, close to and near that's a low pressure area and this warm front. That's early afternoon tomorrow. So watch that in case we see any rotating storms. If we see a tornado, it would be brief and probably small. We'll let you know if it happens. All right, so now let's get into the snow. 4 p.m., now we're changing over to snow. There's 6. We got winds gusting almost 60 miles per hour. Blizzard conditions possible, 50 to 70 mile per hour gusts here with heavy snow. This won't be snow flurries and crazy wind. This is going to be very heavy snow at times and extremely strong winds. This is something that you won't see very often around here at all. 9 p.m. Now the snow gets into areas like Council Grove, Emporia, maybe Topeka by 9 p.m. But certainly Marysville, Manhattan, Council Grove are snowing by 9 o'clock tomorrow, and the winds are strong. 70-mile-per-hour gusts embedded in here. Here's 11 o'clock tomorrow, kind of the peak of the wind and the peak of the most of our area seeing heavy snow at the same time. So 11 o'clock tomorrow. I certainly hope that most folks are home off the road. You would not want to drive in this, I assure you. So if you're planning for Tuesday, I would recommend, first of all, take the raincoat and the umbrella. But by 5 o'clock, certainly, if you're around Concordia, I'd be off the roads. By 6 o'clock around McPherson. By 8 o'clock, if you're in Manhattan, Council Grove, I would not want to be on the road. You can check in with us all day tomorrow. We'll have updates of where the snow is, where the wind is. We'll be letting you know all day, I assure you. Topeka, Burlington. By 10 p.m. tomorrow, I would encourage you to be off the road as the strong winds and the heavy snow start moving in. Now, the snow amounts, like I mentioned, won't be huge. This is a blizzard warning over here already, though. That's Donovan County. They've been in a blizzard warning. They issued this a while ago. The winter storm watch, when they issue these, they're considering, do we want to go with winter storm warning or are we going to go with blizzard warning? Lowest would be a winter weather advisory. So that's the winter storm watch right here for areas in blue. From Topeka to the south, they may put in a winter weather advisory down here. That's a possibility. But generally, you'll get the upgrade about 12 hours, to what they're going to do. But this area is not a watch as though nothing's going to happen. Sometimes a tornado watch and you don't have a tornado, or severe storm watch and you have severe storms. A winter storm watch does not mean nothing's going to happen. It doesn't mean it means something's coming. We just haven't determined which tag to put on it yet for the warning. Is it the advisory, or is it the warning, or is it the blizzard warning? Which one's it going to be? These areas to the south, not in one of the winter advisories or warnings yet, but 0 to 2 inches of snow, and the winds are still going to be 70 miles per hour. The latest supercast run showing a couple spots with higher snowfall totals. This storm is not going to be a big snow producer, but there could be some spots that go 4 or 5 inches of snow. That's a possibility. But the wind blowing this around is what's going to make this different. You will notice this. You're going to see heavy snow falling with wind, and you will have a hard time remembering the last time you saw something like this. Christmas 2011 might be an analog one that I remember was similar to this. I'm going to have to look back at the records and see that one. The Christmas blizzard, I think that was 2011. That storm had a lot of snow with it. This is not going to have that order of snow, but I'm just trying to remember the last time we saw this kind of wind magnitude with snow. It's not going to be like the Christmas blizzard with that much snow, but again, it's got a possibility of maybe producing that sort of wind with snow ongoing. So there's the 8-day forecast. Again, tomorrow we have the late snow, extremely strong winds, and then after that, temperatures will recover quite nicely and pretty fast after the blizzard. But again, tomorrow evening, I encourage you to be off the roads and try to be home if you can by the evening hours. In Topeka, I would encourage you to be home and off the roads by 9 or 10. If you're around Concordia, Clay Center, I would check the radar and check with us by 4 or 5 p.m. and see where the leading edge of this all is. Let's check in with Daniel McDonald, see what he's got right now. Daniel.
Thanks, Jeremy. It's certainly looking like this is going to be another fairly significant event. The analogs we have, as Jeremy mentioned, going back to around Christmas 2011, but in comparison to the last couple of winter events we've had this year, which has been a very active winter by Northeast Kansas standards, not just in terms of these blizzard conditions, which this is now the second time we'll be within a blizzard warning potentially for many of our counties. Right now, again, it's a winter storm watch, which could be upgraded, but having that earlier on in January, 2 times in the winter season is certainly a rarity here. We usually only get those once every couple of years. Same goes for those extremely cold temperatures that we had seen back in January and then February, setting some records and in the negatives. Luckily, this event is not going to feature quite as frigid of air. Those winds, as strong as they are expected to be, again gusting to around 65 or 70 miles per hour, is going to definitely make things feel colder. We'll probably have wind chills somewhere feeling like the teens, maybe down towards the single digits at times, but anything far below 0, -10, -20, -30 like we had seen at some times during those those wind chills of past events this year really does not look to be a feature of this event. And again, the temperatures are going to be warming up here as we head further on into Wednesday afternoon. We should be at least in the lower 40s, and that should be more than enough to pretty much totally wipe away any snow that does fall. Again, not expecting too much out of this. We hear the word blizzard and we think of a lot of snow, but really the criteria for that, it doesn't really matter how much snow is falling. It's more so based on those very strong winds that we are expecting out of a system as well. So that, again, is something we're going to be watching for. And another risk of these stronger winds, which is, again, even usually not part of many blizzards that we've had, is going to be the risk of some power outages. And we're not going to just see that for the snow event here tomorrow night. That will also be a little bit of a risk, as we are talking about later tonight, or I should say more so into Tuesday, when we do have those thunderstorms moving through the area. These shouldn't be that strong. We are still under that 1 out of 5 marginal risk from the Storm Prediction Center. We could see some of these storms be a little severe, and as Jeremy mentioned, any of those storms could produce some hail and winds, tornadoes. Very unlikely. It's mostly going to be winds from, at first, these storms that are coming through the area, but then more so winds again tomorrow night into Wednesday morning, where it does look like, again, isolated power outages could be possible here as that snow is coming through the area. 60 to 70 miles per hour, that's usually what we see with some stronger severe storms that we've had a couple of here over the past couple of years. So just imagine the wind gusts that we've seen from some of those here over the past couple of springs and summers, and that is likely what we're going to be seeing with this snowfall. And while it's not really going to be heavy snowfall really for any duration of time, that sort of wind speed is going to lead to whiteout conditions. And of course, even without the snow, those sort of winds would make it very hazardous for driving, could very easily get gusted off the road, and then with the reduced visibility as well, could be a recipe for disaster if we really are planning on traveling very late into Tuesday night and early on Wednesday morning. Now, the power outages, again, should be fairly isolated. We're not expecting a total shutdown of grids or anything that would wipe out power here to larger population centers, but it is something that we do want to be aware of, just because that typically isn't something we really see with these winter storms and blizzards. Even back in January, any power outages we saw were confined to a very localized amounts of areas. I don't even think we really got more than reports of more than 50 or 60 throughout our whole viewing area. But again, this could definitely be an event where we do end up seeing a little bit more than that overall. And again, the wind speeds are still pointing to those winds really picking up sometime around or just before sunset tomorrow evening. Again, this will be moving from west to east, so Concordia, Clay Center, Marysville, Abilene, Manhattan, they will be getting those winds first, and that should start to pick up as we are transitioning to snow. So as that rain ends, and as we see a little bit of a mix of rain and snow, and then totally snow, that's when we are going to see those higher winds start to pick up through the area before things look to peak here, probably sometime just a little bit before midnight across most of the area. We'll be here at 10 p.m. and earlier and after that, if those conditions are still very strong with those winds at that time covering that, and we will have some updates there. But yes, a lot of our models are showing signs of seeing between 60 and 70 miles per hour for those gusts, which again, even within thunderstorms, is not all that common here, at least not on some of our wind models that we usually see over a widespread area. Those are sort of the gusts that we get briefly with severe storms that come through the area, but it does look like we are going to see that over a very wide area, as you can see, spanning multiple counties where some of those stronger winds will be possible. And unlike with severe thunderstorms, which don't really cover usually as great of an area as blizzards, this is going to be affecting many of us all at once here. So again, traveling is really not advised for any period tomorrow night after sunset through Wednesday morning, as we are going to be really wanting to stay where we are and not be out on the roadways in conditions like this. Again, it should be continuing into the overnight hours. By Wednesday morning, things are lightening up a little bit, but we can still see here 5, 6 a.m. we could still have gusts well north of around 40 miles per hour. And again, before we see that snow, we are going to see some thunderstorms for tonight and into tomorrow. There is a likelihood that we will see a severe storm watch issued for parts of south central Kansas, more so towards the Wichita area before midnight tonight, but we could possibly see that expanded a little further north to maybe some of our southern counties, Lyon, Coffee, Morris. They might see themselves within that warning or watch area for severe storms as we head towards tomorrow morning. But it does look like most of that potential for stronger storms should be starting to die off as we head towards later on in the afternoon. Still going to be very rainy, but there should be a transition from thunder and lightning to more of just that continuous lighter to moderate rain that we're more used to when we see events like this in this time of the year here, February and March, when we're just starting to barely get into that window of the severe season. But again, things are going to still be pretty wet here for much of the afternoon leading up to that eventual transition to snow. You can see in these white boxes along that warm front is where we may still have a little bit of some additional storm development into the afternoon as the system continues to move to the east. But again, that will be moving away from our area later on into the afternoon, and that eventual transition to snow will occur. 50 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts in the snow. Again, it will be heavy at times, but it's not going to be heavy for a prolonged enough amount of time to really drop some of those more impressive totals that we've seen over the past couple of months. Certainly nothing like what we saw in January. I think we're pretty confident in saying it'll be less than half of that for even the highest totals in some areas further to the north and west. And even compared to what we saw a couple of weeks ago in the middle of February, probably going to be a little bit less than that for most of the region as well. So again, this isn't going to be a very a crippling sort of winter storm or blizzard that has snow on the ground for weeks on end and has the roadways covered in snow for a while. We can think temperatures the next day warming up quite a bit for that. Again, in the lower to middle 40s is where we're going to be on Wednesday, and with mostly sunny skies by the afternoon, that should be more than enough to at least wipe out like 90% of the snow that falls over that time period before drier conditions, and then temperatures are back in the 60s and maybe even the 70s by later this weekend. So really not going to see evidence of this after it passes, but for that narrow window here, it is going to feel like a fairly intense blizzard with those stronger winds really being the main concern here all across the area. So again, for Tuesday, it looks like we are going to see that rain here on and off throughout the day at least, and a couple of thunderstorms throughout the region. So as we're heading out the door, sending the kids to school, definitely want to be prepared for that. Probably going to be having to wear those jackets most of the day, and as we're heading out of school around 2 to 3 p.m. is when that sort of storm threat should be ending, and more so we're just talking about the rain and waiting for that eventual transition to snow out further west and north towards the Concordia region sometime around sunset. Wednesday, we'll be waking up to, again, snow on the ground and probably still some fairly gusty winds, but I don't think we're going to see those exacerbated wind chills down in the negatives, maybe by the teens at some points, but again, we are warming fairly quickly throughout the morning hours of Wednesday and into the afternoon, so I don't think we're going to have to at least keep those really warmer jackets and clothes on for much of the day here, which will again be a nice difference from really what we've seen over the past couple of weeks and so far here on this winter. But by, again, Tuesday evening, a little after sunset, and through Wednesday morning, probably a little before sunrise, is when we are really going to want to try and avoid being out and about and staying off of those roadways, as it will be dangerous for quite some time there. Even if the snow melts quickly, it's just going to be that narrow window we're talking about where we do really see the worst of those conditions in the area. So here's a look at those watches across the area right now. We do have winter storm watches in these bluer colors, and then the advisories in purple here further to the north and west, and a little bit off to the east as well here. I think between between a trace and 3 inches of snow is what we're expecting for most of these counties north of Interstate 70, where it does look like we probably aren't going to see too many higher local totals out of this. 4 to 5, as Jeremy had mentioned a little while ago, could be possible in some spots, but over widespread areas between, again, a little less than an inch and 3 inches is most likely where we're going to be. South of Interstate 70, looking to be not quite as much of snow in the area, but still probably around an inch is what we can expect for the area. And all of us, no matter where we are, north, east, west, south, will be feeling those stronger winds Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So that is going to be an area-wide concern no matter where we really are in the area. Most of our models right now, again, have those higher local totals off to the north and west, but even then, that 6.9, almost 7 inches in Marysville, probably on the higher end. I think 4 to 5 is about as much as we should get here, and then even some areas looking to be less than an inch or just between that 1 and 2 inch mark across most of the region. So right now we are still dry across most of northeast Kansas. We did have a little bit of some rain earlier this evening, further out west, just some sprinkles, but right now we are watching for that eventual development for storms further to the south and west of us near the Wichita area. They will be moving to the northeast here and then slowly sort of spinning around with the rest of that rain and low pressure system throughout much of Tuesday afternoon. Really all of the daylight hours is when we're expecting that rain to occur. Probably not going to see many breaks in the rain across the area. Maybe a little further out towards the west near Concordia, we could have a bit of a gap there, but that's also where we do expect the snow to first start forming. So that, again, comes with a little bit of a trade-off. Winds right now are starting to pick up here across the area. Not too intense. We do have gusts up to around 30 to 35 in Burlington and Emporia, and some areas further to the north and east as well, while our stations out west haven't really been giving us some measurable gusts as of late, or the last hour or so. But these are not the strong wind gusts we're talking about for Tuesday night. This is really just that sort of stronger wind you expect in advance of storm formation that we typically see every springtime and summer. It's not going to be until later on that we're watching for any sort of more intense winds that, again, are going to make hazardous travel conditions a real issue. Again, regardless of the snow, it is going to be a bad time to be out and about Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So again, right now we're looking at pretty much clearer skies, or at least no rain across the area, even from what we're seeing right now. Again, closer to Wichita, things are looking pretty clear for the moment. So it might not be until a little after midnight tonight that we do start to see that rain move through, and maybe thunderstorms could be a little closer to the daybreak hours here on Tuesday morning, but still something we'll have to be ready for, and definitely want to start being prepared, as it is, again, the first couple of days of March. By later on in the month, the risk of severe weather will be increasing as we officially enter the prime sort of season for severe conditions in northeast Kansas. Of course, we'll have our segments all throughout the week as well for severe weather awareness, online articles and segments during our newscasts, as well as some paired videos online to help bring awareness and all the facts that you need to know about all the different hazards that we in northeast Kansas do end up experiencing for this time of the year, so you can stay ready and prepared in the event of all sorts of weather, which this is sort of an early preview where we get a bit of a triple threat here: the rain, the wind, and the snow. The snow, not something we usually associate with severe weather in our area, but certainly this winter we are definitely seeing that prove itself with just how much we've seen in regards to snow, in regards to colder temperatures, and in regards to winter storm watches and blizzard warnings all throughout our counties. So we'll see what this severe weather season holds for us, but if this past winter is any indication, it may be very active across the region. Taking a bit of a further zoom out, we can start to see some storms forming out well further to the southwest in parts of Oklahoma and the Panhandle. Some storms popping up there, and if we look there towards the corner of the screen, we can see a purple polygon, which is a severe storm warning that has been issued. Now, further down south in Oklahoma is much higher risk for severe weather this evening and tonight, so I don't think we're going to end up seeing anything like what is expected down there, which should be multiple severe storm warnings throughout the night and even into parts of Tuesday as well. But us here in northeast Kansas, sort of on the northern edge of that storm development, the severe warnings will be possible. But all in all, I do think a lot of us will end up only seeing some of those weaker thunderstorms, with maybe the heavier rains being of some more concern, just with the duration that we expect rain to be falling really all throughout much of Tuesday afternoon and a little bit into Tuesday night before we do see that transition to snow. So we'll take a little bit of a look here at reflectivity. Just gives us a better, more specific view with those multiple radars across the states showing the development of those storms, and we can see some well-defined areas there. Again, a couple about 100 miles or so west of the Wichita area is what it looks like right now, before they will be moving off towards the east and then eventually the northeast towards our region, and we will be ready for that here as we head towards tomorrow. But all in all, going to be a pretty interesting next 36 hours or so, maybe not in terms of severity, but in terms of just the variation of weather that we get, and a sort of transition from the winter season into the spring season, or I guess in this case we'll get the storms first and then the snow later, so maybe a little bit of a reversal of trends there. Take another look at our Capitol Federal Skycam in downtown Topeka, where things are still, again, pretty nice. Winds are picking up a little bit, but we're still dry, and things aren't too bad, as temperatures should hold pretty steady owing to those clouds and the eventual movement of rain into the area. Probably waking up tomorrow around the lower 50s, so that will be at least one benefit there. Even if it is pouring rain, it won't be too cold outside. It's not going to be that cold winter rain that we are usually used to around this time of the year. And temperatures don't really look to be that much different anywhere else in the region. We should be at least in the lower 50s, maybe a few of us out west in the upper 40s, but the colder air is sort of west of where that storm line will end up developing tonight in the western half of the state, where temperatures are a little colder down there into the 30s in some spots. So probably around 52 here in Topeka is what we're expecting after midnight. Right now is looking to be the most likely window of when that will start to move into our area. 30 miles per hour for wind gusts is probably where we'll top out at. I don't expect anything to really get too much stronger than that in case of a severe storm warning, maybe a little bit higher towards around 40 or 50, but those 60 to 70 mile per hour winds we're talking about here for Tuesday night, and with that snowfall, really only occur in the really strongest of the severe storms that we expect, the sort of events that we are really talking about and stressing the importance of multiple days out ahead of time. Tomorrow afternoon, 61. T-storms or thunderstorms during the day, evening, eventually transitioning to snow. And a lot of us should end up not really seeing too much thunder and lightning, at least past the morning hours. It'll be more so just that rain sort of on and off throughout the day. And again, as that front moves through the low pressure system as well, things are definitely going to be getting wetter and getting a little bit snowier as we head towards tomorrow night and then towards around even into Wednesday morning. So it does look like this will be a very interesting event, maybe not in terms of the severity of these storms or the amount of snowfall of this blizzard, but the extremely high winds paired with that switching here of conditions from rain to snow at some point tomorrow evening is going to be even for northeast Kansas standards, a fairly rare occurrence across our region. So that's something, again, we'll have updates for you on. Doug Myers will be here tomorrow morning to give you updates on those storms as they're first developing into the early afternoon hours. And then Jeremy and I will be back for tomorrow evening to really show you the latest on how we are watching for that transition from rain to snow to eventually occur in our area. So the next 8 days, though, it looks like after this, again, are going to be a bit nicer, 44 degrees for Wednesday afternoon. That snow should be melting pretty quickly, and then we are returning to sort of where we were this past Saturday, upper 40s to lower 50s for the rest of the week and heading towards this upcoming weekend. More average for March. We've been kind of lucky to experience those warmer than usual temperatures after we had that deep freeze a few weeks ago in February. We had a couple of days get up to the 70s, but we'll level out here where we're supposed to be in early March. But some early looks there, as you can see, for the start of next week could bring us back into the 70s and bring us a lot of sunshine as well. Maybe those low temperatures getting more consistently above freezing for the region as well. So it does look like we will be rewarded again with some nicer conditions, at least into the latter half of next weekend. But just a little bit of a brief cool down in the wake of this system coming through the area, which again will be still warm enough to melt that snow. We're really not concerned with anything staying on the ground for really more than a day at most, because we'll be even warmer on Thursday into the lower 50s all across northeast Kansas. So nothing that we can really compare to that snow on the ground for almost a month back in January, and then even compared to a few weeks ago where we had those very cold temperatures and about 4 to 5 inches of snow on the ground across most of the region here. So something that is, again, a very unique storm system, but fortunately it is going to be a bit compact, and its impacts, at least in terms of what we'll be feeling after the storm has passed and after we've seen the worst of the thunderstorms, the rain, and the snow, generally nicer conditions will end up continuing here all across the region. So that is a nice little benefit here. I'll pass it back to Jeremy now, and as we are going to see some more stuff, but it does look like things will be a bit better as we head towards later on next weekend again. But we'll be on the 10 o'clock as well. We'll have that live broadcast for you, and we'll have more updates there at the top of the hour, and of course our full forecast with Jeremy, where he'll go into more details about any sort of updates we have and other sorts of changes that may be occurring there in our forecast. So a lot of things are going to be definitely changing over the next day or so, but we are confident at the very least that this is going to be at first a rain event with a few thunderstorms. Some of those could be a little on the stronger side, but I think any sort of talk about tornadoes or large hail or extremely strong winds, at least while the rain is falling, will not really be a part of the forecast. And then Tuesday night, that eventual transition to snow. Wednesday morning, we're going to be finally melting that, and it'll be over as about as quickly as it came through. But we'll be watching for the winds most of all Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. If there's one thing we want to stress, it's that time period to make sure we are not out on the roads traveling and that we are staying safe indoors, because the winds will be very, very strong, enough to really disrupt driving, and even the risk of some power outages may be occurring. But that's what we'll end this stream on here for now. We'll be back later on tonight with the 10 o'clock show. Jeremy Goodwin will have all of those updates for you, and things will be a bit different by tomorrow morning with Doug Myers, but again, we'll have that coverage for you in our area.